All right, welcome back, everyone. Today, we are diving into a really high-stakes topic in our latest explainer. Honestly, this is the exact issue that is actively keeping European founders and executives up at night right now. We're talking about a massive, impending data compliance crisis. But more importantly, we're looking at how completely redesigning your actual business architecture is kind of the only way to survive it. If you've been following the European regulatory landscape even a little bit, you know the ground is totally shifting beneath our feet. So we're going to bridge some very high-level venture philosophy from the Spectre of Insight framework directly into the deep technical software architecture you actually need to win in this new era.
Okay, let's dive into this and lay out the roadmap. First, we'll hit on the market architect mindset, then examine the data sovereignty crisis hitting Europe as we speak. After that, we'll look at the infrastructure revolution that's solving this, explore how to achieve zero third-party reliance, and finally wrap up with how all of this unlocks the incoming tokenized economy.
So part one, the market architect mindset. Before we even touch on software and servers, we really have to talk about how we think.
There's this absolutely brilliant statement from the Spectre founder Bible. The founder who understands market architecture does not compete. Think about that for a second. Most founders are just trapped in the old rules of linear competition, right? They look at existing players and just try to build a slightly better product or maybe offer a slightly faster service. But true innovators, what the Spectre ecosystem calls market architects, they behave fundamentally differently. They don't just step onto the playing field. They completely redefine where the boundaries of the field are drawn in the first place. They set the rules that everyone else eventually has to follow.
To really hammer this home, just compare a typical company builder to a market architect. A company builder's main goal is just to win market share. They're hyper-focused on a single product or service, constantly staring at the short 3 to 5 year time horizon. Essentially, they are optimizing entirely within existing constraints. But a market architect? Their objective is to redesign the market itself. We're talking about looking at the entire market system over a 10 to 20 year horizon. They aren't sitting around asking, what product should I build to beat the competition? They're asking, how can I redesign the underlying architecture so value and trust flow entirely differently? It's literally the difference between trying to build a better taxi company and building Uber.
Which brings us to part two, the data sovereignty crisis. Why does this architectural thinking matter so much right now? Because the infrastructure most European companies are relying on is, well, it's currently breaking.
Let's look at the actual reality on the ground. Come February 2025, the Norwegian Data Protection Authority sent out explicit warnings to municipalities using platforms like Salesforce and HubSpot. And why? Because of this Schrems 2 ruling. Basically, transferring personal data to U.S. cloud providers exposes you to the U.S. Cloud Act, which is a massive GDPR violation risk. On top of that, we've got the NIS2 directive imposing incredibly strict cybersecurity rules. We're talking fines reaching up to 10 million euros or 2% of global revenue for noncompliance. No joke. And looking ahead to 2027, the EU Data Act will legally eliminate switching costs for cloud providers. Guys, these are not minor IT headaches. These are existential structural threats. If your underlying infrastructure is built on fragmented, US-based SaaS tools, you are quite literally trapped in a burning building. You need an architectural fix.
All right, part three, the infrastructure revolution.
So the crucial point is, how do you actually redesign this game? Enter SpecHub, a really essential part of the Spectre ecosystem. This is a Norwegian-developed super-app that acts as the ultimate infrastructure revolution. Instead of duct-taping together 5 different non-compliant SaaS tools, SpecHub unifies your CRM, ERP, document management, and AI into one single sovereign platform. And here is the absolute magic phrase: zero third-party reliance. It's built entirely on open-source components. That means you aren't waiting for some vendor in California to update their privacy policy. You own the rails.
This whole idea of category creation becomes super obvious when you map out enterprise capabilities. You've got the giants, right? Zoho, Odoo, Salesforce, SAP. They offer a CRM or an ERP, sure. But when it comes to self-hosted AI, built-in blockchain for real-world assets, strictly EU and GDPR hosting, and being completely open source, SpecHub is literally the only unified solution checking every single box. By blending an open core model, kind of similar to highly successful companies like GitLab, with these enterprise-grade, fully compliant capabilities, it actually stops competing with Salesforce entirely. Instead, it offers a fundamentally different architectural proposition.
Moving right along to part 4, zero third-party reliance.
Now you might be wondering, how can I host everything locally without sacrificing the speed and scalability of the modern cloud? Well, SpecHub solves this through a very strict hybrid architecture. Step 1. All your critical data is completely locked down on local servers, specifically on-premises in Norway. Step 2. Non-sensitive tasks and temporary traffic spikes, what we call burst capacity, seamlessly utilize European cloud infrastructure.
Let's get a bit technical for a second, because the details here are absolutely crucial. Locked safely on local Norwegian servers, you've got your primary PostgreSQL 16 databases. That is all your sensitive customer and financial data right there. Your KYC and anti-money laundering processing handled locally. You even have your AI model weights running locally on your own hardware, so your company's data is never ever sent out to OpenAI. You've also got an XRPL node for blockchain transactions. All of this completely eliminates that Cloud Act exposure we talked about. Meanwhile, the EU cloud handles all the heavy lifting that doesn't involve sensitive data. Things like a content delivery network for super fast loading, burst compute nodes for handling sudden traffic, and purely anonymized analytics. So you get total GDPR compliance, absolutely zero Schrems 2 risk, and modern enterprise performance all at the exact same time.
And finally, part 5, the tokenized economy.
This is where the real genius kicks in. Once you have built this foundation of absolute, undeniable local trust, what does it actually unlock? I love this theory from the Spectre Insights. Every time trust becomes cheaper, a new category of transaction becomes possible, and a new market emerges. By fixing that foundational layer of data sovereignty, SpecHub isn't just protecting companies from massive fines, it's perfectly positioning them to participate in the very next evolution of global commerce.
And for sure, that evolution is real-world asset, or RWA, tokenization. Because SpecHub has an XRPL blockchain node built directly into its local infrastructure, it allows businesses to tokenize physical assets, stuff like real estate, securities, even art, totally seamlessly. And because of the rigorous local data handling we just went over, it is designed from day one to be fully compliant with the EU's massive new MiCA regulations rolling out in 2025. Now, why does this matter so much? Because major institutions like McKinsey and BCG are projecting that tokenized assets are going to explode into a $10 trillion market by 2030. To put that into perspective, that is a staggering amount of capital. And SpecHub is the only platform that combines your everyday business tools, your CRM and ERP, with the built-in, compliant infrastructure needed to capture a piece of that $10 trillion pie.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway for you, the focused learner. Take a hard look at your current infrastructure. Look at the immense legal risks looming over European data in 2025 and beyond. You can keep playing defense, right? You can keep paying rising fees to US cloud providers and just crossing your fingers hoping you don't get slapped with a fine under NIS2 or Schrems 2. Or you can step back, adopt the mindset of a market architect, and move to a sovereign infrastructure that actively positions you for the future. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. Are you just competing inside the market, or are you ready to architect it? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the architecture around you, and we'll see you next time.